Hey, so this is Edwin Dearborn. I am with the CEO of GeniusVets, Harley Orion, and we are going to be talking about, if you're a veterinarian, how to dominate local search and get more pet owners bringing their pets to your clinic.
Very cool. Thanks so much for having me on, Ed.
Hey, Harley, so thanks for being on the show. And we've been connected on LinkedIn for, I just checked, for like 8 years.
Oh my God, I had no
I
idea.
know, I know. And you were telling me a while ago you've been working with veterinarians on helping them to dominate local search,
Mhm.
get tons of pet owners coming. And I know that with all this COVID madness, doctors are probably and veterinarians, I know that you work with specifically, are looking for a solution. So, can you tell me a little bit about your company, how you got involved with veterinarians, and like what drives you to excellence to help them grow?
Absolutely, sure thing. Thanks, and thanks for having me on, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here. So
Yeah.
so basically, the Genius Vets, we are the highest performing marketing company in the veterinary industry, and I'll talk a little bit about kind of what supports that claim in a bit. But basically, I was an agency guy for many years. Ran a digital marketing agency, doing web development and SEO and paid search for a number of large organizations. I had clients like the Smithsonian Institution,
Wow.
Department of Defense, a number of product brands, a couple of publicly traded companies, and then we were acquired by a bigger brand agency who had clients like Vizio and iHome and Harman. So I ended up being a partner in that agency. But one thing that happened along the way was I met she was my veterinarian, and I was helping her with her marketing as we went along. And she's just a phenomenal entrepreneur. Her name's Dr. Michelle Drake, and I was able to help her grow her practice. And then we reached a point where, after my agency was acquired, she would have veterinarian friends that she would refer to me and say, "Hey, these guys would love to get your help with their marketing." But the reality was that they couldn't come to my agency. Even a modest sized local agency is just super ill suited to helping that practice be successful. So I realized there was a great opportunity there, and I thought there was. It was, the profession absolutely needs our help, and so I was able to kind of pivot out of that agency once I finished doing. I did 3 years there after they acquired my agency, and then I launched GeniusVets. That was in 2016, and so we've been growing steadily since then. We help practices all over the country to improve their marketing. We've driven some pretty amazing results in terms of their local search visibility. And I think the reason that people ask me a lot of the time, why did you go? You were working with all these big brands, like these exciting companies. What makes you want to work with local veterinary practices? I think it's a few things. First, I get to work with a couple of my favorite human beings and entrepreneurs in the world. That's Dr. Michelle Drake and David Hall, my co-founders.
Hmm.
Secondarily, we get to make a big impact. You've worked with big brands, and it's like, if you do all this work and you make like a 4% like sales increase that's worth like millions of dollars, it's like, okay, cool. But then it's like, okay, well, what's the next quarter's problem, right? It's like not that exciting.
So true.
We have veterinarians we've worked with where it was like a one doctor practice. It was like he was hair on fire, stressed, worried all the time. And by getting his marketing under control, it's been uh, like you can it becomes like kind of a microcosm of the whole business, and he was able to get not just more control over marketing but more control over culture, recruitment, retention, client relationships, and just the business as a whole and his finances. So he's now a three doctor practice. He's opening a new location, a big boarding center. It's going to be gorgeous and amazing, and the change in his like mentality and the way he feels about his business is 180 degrees. So that's the other thing that really motivates me to work with these veterinarians, is that they're being super poorly served by the existing marketing companies, and so we're able to really come in and make a difference, and in a lot of ways change their life. I mean, for virtually 100% of veterinarians, the practice is their most valuable asset. it's essentially 100% of their net worth is tied up in this thing. And so if they're struggling, if they're not making enough money, if they're not managing to hold on to patients, or they don't have a good control of their reputation in their community, things like that, it really, really weighs on and affects them. So being able to come in and change that and put them from kind of like chaos to control in their business through the tool we use is marketing, but it obviously is bigger than that, and it can be really life changing for them. And so that's what I love about what I do.
That's great. That's awesome. Thanks for that. And I could see that. I mean, there is an allure working with the big corporate brands that you mentioned, but you make this big impact, and it's to their bottom line, but it doesn't have the emotional and rewarding impact of taking a small business guy. Like you said, he's got 100% in. He's got all chips in on the practice. And if that practice doesn't make it, he doesn't make it.
That's right.
His family doesn't make it. And when you change that, it's actually, you see more sustainable, a bigger win, if you will.
Yeah.
Because it's a person to person that's telling you their wins.
Yeah, 100%. And I would agree. And I would just add that in terms of the mindset, I mean, you may have not be familiar with this, but anyone that follows the veterinary profession knows that there's like a well-identified crisis in mental health with veterinarians. It comes down to they have a very high suicide rate. Sadly, they have terrible stress in their profession. And I think there's 101 things that you could ascribe it to, but I think fundamentally it's just a lack of control. Like, they feel their business is out of their control, their environment's out of their control. I mean, COVID has just exacerbated that so much.
So true.
Veterinarians they're staying open because they're essential businesses, but the way that they have to practice their business is super impacted. It's very stressful, and most of them, like I said, they just don't have good tools for this. And so helping them to get, it's like, a lot of people, Ed, they want to say, well, these guys need psychiatric help. They need medication. It's like, no. They need help getting control of their business, because their business is their life. They get control of their business. They get control of their life. Everything gets better.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's a tremendous help.
Look, medications will never solve bad organization.
That's right.
So, right. There is no pill for disorganization.
Yeah, that's right.
Very much agree with you. Okay, so now let's step back. So Veterinarian hears about you, here's your successes. Obviously, he comes to you skeptical.
Sure.
He's been probably promised things before by other marketers, failed delivery, failed expectations. Kind of take me through the process. I'm sitting down with you. I'm the veterinarian. I'm highly skeptical, but of course I want the results. I want the control that you talk about. Take me kind of, whether it's a 2-step process, 5-step process, kind of take me through in layman terms what you do.
Well, absolutely. So that's a great question. So first of all, I always want to acknowledge that skepticism with them, right? Like that, and in my agency career, if a client came to us and said, "Hey, I've worked with like these 5 other agencies and they were all crap," like that, as an agency leader, that's a red flag on that client. You're saying, "Hey, what's going on with this client where they can't seem to get a good result with any of the agencies," right?
Good point.
That is different in veterinary. I have talked extensively with the leadership. I've examined the products of every competitor in this industry. And when someone comes to me and says, "I've worked with a bunch of these guys and it's all crap," it's like, yep. And when I say, like, to be specific, like just on the organic search front. So we did a traffic study using, we can get into the nerdy details of it, but using a third-party analytics tool called Ahrefs, we pulled data on the organic traffic that's being driven by, because pretty much everybody labels, they tag their sites, right? You can see who it was built by in the footer. So we were able to kind of deconstruct, what are the sites that are being managed by all of our top competitors. And what we found is that when you pull those traffic numbers and you kind of sort them, the top 10 clients working with GeniusVets are getting more traffic than the top 10 clients of our top 10 competitors all combined. So in other words, our 10 sites versus their 100. So we have a lot of evidence to show that when we say that we vastly outperform competitors, that it's factual.
Okay, so the first step is you address their skepticism by grabbing analytics data
Yeah,
and
well,
just kind
yes.
of proving the point of like, look, I know your skepticism, but let me just statistically and with metrics and analytics show you how we're actually
Yeah.
outperforming the
So
competition.
100%. And what I would say, if I can actually take one step back from there in the sales process, because that's now you're talking sales process at that stage.
Yeah.
What we start prior to that, of course, marketing is senior and prior to sales, right? So from a marketing perspective, what we're constantly doing is we invest enormous amounts of resources and money in educating the marketplace. Like, we provide content, videos, webinars, we do public speaking to elevate the understanding of marketing in the veterinarian's mind. And so when we before we're having that sales conversation about, well, okay, how are you better than X, Y,
Right.
or Z competitor?
Right.
What we're always trying to do is educate that veterinarian, because I'm very candid about this when I'm talking to doctors. It's like, look, the essentially 100% of the companies we compete with, they are exploiting the lack of understanding on the part of the veterinarians.
I
And
agree. I
basically,
agree.
when like I'll give you an example. We were talking with a client the other day, a prospect, and they said, well, I'm with, can you tell me the difference between you guys and company X, because company X does SEO and you guys do SEO, and so isn't that the same thing, but you guys cost more, so what's the difference? I mean, it's a fair question. Like, honestly, like, a big part of it is that, in communications, is like, you really have to check your ego at the door, because a lot of the time, like they don't mean to be a jerk. They're just asking. It's an honest question for them. It's not confrontational.
Absolutely.
But so you can't take it that way. It's like, what do you mean? Like, those guys are idiots. Like, you can't take it that way. You have to just go, hey, I hear you. I understand you. I understand that you hear them saying we do SEO, and you hear us saying we do SEO, and that.
I think your sound went off.
There
There you go. It's
go.
back
Cool.
on. It's back on.
So what I was saying is, I'll acknowledge that. Okay, I know it all sounds the same to you, what you're hearing, but let's talk about what's actually happening. So in this case with Company X, we know, because we run the numbers, that we deliver 18 times the organic search traffic that Company X does. And secondarily, the client said, it's weird. Like, they haven't actually updated our website in a year. So Ed, you know enough about, you're a marketing guy. You tell me how someone's quote unquote doing SEO if they haven't updated the site in a year. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they're charging them something every month to quote unquote do SEO, but they're banking on the fact that the client has no idea what that actually means, and can never say, well, hey, show me what SEO you did, or show me the results of that. And so that's a lot of the before we even get into a sales cycle. It's educating the veterinarian to say, listen, you're not crazy for feeling like there's a bunch of freaking charlatans in this business. There are. I know them. I've studied them, and we're, like, it sounds self-serving, but we are really the only company that is dedicated to delivering this kind of results. And we're also the only company co-founded by a practicing veterinarian who uses these tools in her practice.
Great. Okay, for the guys that just joined the show mid, I'm with Harley Orion. He is the CEO of Genius. Is it GeniusVets.com?
That's right, GeniusVetscom.
Okay, I'm going to show that at the bottom here for a couple minutes here. You go to GeniusVets.com. Now, I think you bring up a really good point here, and thanks for all that great insight. And I agree with you. I think the market is taken advantage of. This is not just true of veterinarians, but of a lot of businesses, that their lack of knowledge becomes a weakness, and people take advantage of it, unfortunately. Yeah. Now, I think a key element in the core of your business is that you partnered with veterinarians.
Yes, 100%.
Okay, I think that's vital, because you have somebody on the inside giving you the actual perspective, the problems, the mindset. Like, they have an understanding greater. So at GeniusVets.com, can you tell me a little bit about what the owners have done to elevate you and marketing to that specific public, and why you think that's a greater value add of your company?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So a couple things. First of all, so as I mentioned, like, I have a co-founder who's a veterinarian, practicing veterinarian. She was my veterinarian. I brought my cats to her, and I did her first logo. I did her first website, her second website, her third website, right, over many years before we even started GeniusVets. And one difference between her and a lot of other businesses that I've coached in my career is that, you know, she really took every lesson that we covered to heart. And I remember in 2008 when I was teaching her team social media marketing, because of the kind of companies I was working with that were pretty cutting edge, my feeling at the time was like, oh my God, you guys are so far behind, but I can get you caught up if we work really hard. And that was, but then come to find out, they were 10 years early. We talk to clients all the time now who aren't doing today what Dr. Drake was doing in 2008. So I thought they were behind, and they were relative to other industries, but in terms of like the veterinary industry, like what we were doing was super groundbreaking and about 10 years ahead of its time. So having her as a co-founder, and I mean, she's a full owner. She's an equal partner in running the company. So, and she's, if you ever get a chance to meet her, she's very, very, very direct. Like, she's the kind of person that has no problem. Like, I come up with lots of crazy ideas. My co-founder, David, search marketer, comes up with crazy ideas. Like, she's the one in the business that goes, yeah, that's a super cool idea, but like no veterinarian will ever do it. Or no pet owner wants to, like, they don't care. Like, that's not a good idea. So she's willing to like kind of steer us and make sure that we're always 100% focused on what's going to be difference making for the vet. So then the next layer is we have our,
and let me, can I jump in for a moment?
Yeah, totally.
I think I want to call attention to that because you're right. Guys like us, tech geeks, marketing geeks, we come up with all these crazy harebrained ideas, and it's like, you know, like the movie Up, squirrel, you know, like we're on to the next shiny object syndrome. What you have is you've got somebody, a hard-nosed, business-orientated veterinarian amongst you that kind of keeps you guys on the straight and narrow, that makes sure that the marketing, it's genius, but it's applicable, it's pragmatic to the everyday veterinarian. So
100%.
You've got the creativity, but you've also got the pragmatism of a real honest-to-God veterinarian. That's
100% correct. And I would say, you know, the other thing too that about Dr. Drake is that she's a veterinarian, but she also grew up. She'll tell you when she was 8 years old, her dad would read the Wall Street with her every morning, right?
Wow.
And if I don't know how much you know about veterinarians, but that is extraordinarily unusual. Like most veterinarians have a very, very little business education. They're flying by the seat of their pants. They're not big thinkers when it comes to business and strategy and macroeconomics. She really is. So she's super unique in that respect, and that makes her a really great asset. The other thing that I would say is that it's about helping like kind of steer us and keep us on the straight and narrow, but it's also about you know, she is able to test these ideas and these theories in real time. I mean, so her website, thedrakecenter.com, has the highest traffic of any independent veterinary website in the country. It actually drives more website traffic than Merck Animal Health, which is owned by a Fortune number 76 company. Right.
Wow, that's incredible.
She gets staggering numbers, like upwards of 180,000 uniques a month. I mean, like insane. The average veterinary website does 1,000. She does 180,000. So we get to prove this stuff out. And she's got a good sense of humor. She's often a guinea pig for like the new crazy idea if she thinks it could work, and we try it out and we see that it works. And so the other thing is I mentioned that there's kind of an epidemic of low quality marketers in the veterinary space. There's also an epidemic of low quality consultants. And there's a lot of folks that they consult, but they've never worked in a practice. They worked in a practice 20 years ago. And they're giving people advice on how to run their business. The value that Michelle brings me, she's running a practice, not she used to run, not she worked in, but she's currently a practice owner. So when we're talking about what are we doing about COVID, what are we doing about this curbside drop off and pickup, and how are we going to handle all these phone calls coming in? Like those are problems she's solving on a daily basis and helping us kind of continually re-strategize for the current conditions and make sure that what we deliver is the right product.
Great. So I'd like to just I want to recap something here.
Yeah.
Because I really, here's the thing. I mean, the reason why I do this show as a virtual chief marketing officer is you talked about there's a lot of there's a lot of bad consultants out there. There's a lot of we're drowning in marginal, if not destructive, marketing people out there.
Yep.
The purpose of Growth Driven was to find the people that are actually driving the growth. And what I want to bring to everybody's attention that's watching this or will watch this in the future is you've brought somebody that's working in present time, not only working present time in the industry, in veterinarian, which allows you to have real-time analytics, real-time on-the-ground results, but she's crushing it and beating a Fortune 500 company. So you've got a value add that factually no other consultant. And I think that if people are going to build a business, you should partner with people that are active in the industry and successful.
100%. Pardon me, I'm just replugging in my phone. So so 100%, and that's exactly right. I think the reality, Ed, is that there's it's sort of like don't go to the social media guru with 4 followers. You know what I mean? Like there's so much that it's like, especially, I mean, honestly, I feel like, I mean, you tell me, Ed, do you feel like since the pandemic hit and since everybody's locked in their house, like there's been like a 100x explosion in the number of gurus that are like guruing out and like making videos and putting up content? And it's like, have you ever done like can you prove to me that you can do the thing that you're going to teach me to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I noticed this in 2008, and I'll tell you, this is where and you bring up a good point. See, in 2008, when the real estate and mortgage market crashed, there was a bunch of realtors and mortgage brokers out of work. And Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and websites were just emerging and, really becoming something in 2008. So I noticed all these mortgage brokers and realtors going out and selling websites and selling SEO because it was the next thing to sell because mortgages were dead. I think what the same thing here is there's a bunch of people out of work. What is there to sell? I know, I'll sell online coaching. I'll sell, mentorship. I'll sell, So, they had to find their next dealio, but... And they sounded good, but they don't deliver the results. You've got it.
Yeah,
so
that's right. It's, what is it? What do they say? Beware the naked man who offers you his shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So now I want to get down a little bit down to tactics. Okay.
Love it.
So I get that you've got a much sound leadership that's and it's a leadership that's doing the do on a daily basis. Somebody sits down with you and says, okay, what are some of the strategies and tactics? I'm buying in. I see the results. I see your metrics. What do we do? How do we start attracting more?
Well, it's a great question. So first of all, and this goes back to like why cheapy solutions are ineffective. You have to understand that they're like what Ed, you'll remember, and I remember the early days of SEO where it was like just stuff some keywords in there, man. Like stuff some keywords, and it's going to be all good, right? It's not like that anymore. Google is so intelligent that you need to build this 360-degree picture of how you deliver value for your consumers in order to rank. So it means you've got to get a stronger website, and we'll provide them with a website. It's optimized structurally, right? But we're also going to provide them with super high quality content. We'll work with them to make that content their own and really dial it in for their practice. We provide review management, so reputation management. We provide directory optimization to make sure that people have heard of Yelp, they've heard of Facebook and Google, but there's actually hundreds of local directories, and there are many that are even veterinary specific. People don't necessarily know about them. You may not see them that often, but those are all signals that are pointing back to the practice, and very often people haven't claimed or optimized them. So we'll get that stuff set up. We'll get them going with analytics. We'll set up call tracking so they can not only see whether we're driving more calls, which we do. We drive. Our average practice gets 229% more inbound phone calls after a year. But so we can see that we're driving more calls, but also they can listen into those calls and see what's the quality of that interaction with their front desk. Are they asking for the appointment? Are they taking good care of their customers, right? So it's this whole 360 package. Oh, and then social media. We provide a social media management tool and system for scheduling and handling posts across all of their networks. We also provide a feed of thousands of like pre-written social media posts. Obviously, we strongly encourage the practice to innovate and create their own social media content,
Right.
but we provide them with, it's sort of like, if you want that drip feed of like having something good to say every day, and then you fill that in with local color. That's what we found successful.
Okay.
So they never have to have that day where there's just they were too busy and their social media goes dead. So we've helped fill that out. So it's really a whole comprehensive program. And what I would say, but the single biggest thing, Ed, that we do that differentiates us is we've actually developed a very disciplined and structured system for helping veterinarians create content that answers the questions that real pet owners in their area are asking and gets them in front of them.
Okay, that I believe that's right there a critical point, and I want to call to that. If anybody has read any of my books or followed my other YouTube videos, I stress the number one, they go, what content should I create? Number one strategy, find out what questions your customers are asking, and then create content that answers their questions.
Yep.
And it sounds like you're doing that, but you're taking analytics, you're probably taking the writing and the video quality up to a whole new level.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing all the internal and external linking to drive the SEO signal. So it's not just awesome content that's specific to their audience, but you're building it in a dynamic, as you said, a 360 sphere.
Yeah.
So that Google goes, wow, these people are committed to their community. They're doing all the things that we want them to do SEO wise.
That's right, 100%. And what I would add too is that's another dimension that we've added with the new GeniusVets.com, which just went live in February. That it includes a veterinary specific nationwide directory with over 36,000 practices in it. And practices can claim their profile and fill it out with all kinds of information. What's their mission? What's their values? What services do they deliver? What are the bios of their doctors? What's their background? What's their qualifications? What products and brands do they endorse and support? What certifications do they have? And so they can build out these super detailed profiles, and then that profile is linked back to their website. Their website is linked to the profile. The content that they create for their own website can be syndicated through GeniusVets.com and out to all of our other clients if they want. So we have a network of hundreds of sites all over the country sharing and syndicating and backlinking each other. So these vets are supporting each other. They're supporting GeniusVets.com. GeniusVets.com is supporting them. And like we're really just scratching the surface of what that's going to do in terms of visibility. I can tell you that 100% of our clients are somewhere on an exponential growth curve.
That's awesome.
And GeniusVets.com itself is growing between 20 and 50% a month in organic traffic. So at some point, I mean, this is how we beat the corporates, right? I mean, when I look at the big corporates in the veterinary space, like VCA or Banfield, which are really all part of one corporation, and hey, I'm a capitalist, I'm not anti-corporate, but I do really believe in the importance of independent businesses, and I don't want to see them wiped out by big corporates. And what I can tell you is that when these practices work together with great strategies and they share and they post and support and promote each other, we completely annihilate the search visibility of those corporates in those local areas. Like they can't come close to what we're doing.
That's awesome. Okay, so again, I'm with Harley Orion with GeniusVets.com. You guys can see the little ticker tape down there below, so you can reach out to Harley. So, Harley, let me ask you something. Okay, I really get now, and I've known you for a while, but I'm really enjoying this interview because I get the significance, A, that you've got a veterinarian on board who's keeping it real.
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
She just slaps you around if you guys get a little too weird.
Oh, totally.
Number two, you've really dedicated yourself to quality content and then building a syndicate of other doctors, which just builds so much referral value, SEO value. You're doing all the right things with link building, automation. What do you think is the biggest fear? So let's say a veterinarian's watching this right now.
Sure.
And even though we tell him all these things, he's still skeptical.
Yeah.
Obviously, probably the biggest origination you get or concern is cost.
Yep.
Okay. How much is this going to cost me? And I know, unfortunately, too many people evaluate things only by their cost, not by the ROI or value.
Yeah.
Can you give me some idea? Is there like kind of a starting package, or is
Yeah,
there something
absolutely.
they
Well,
can
so
get going? Maybe if they don't have a ton of, he's the guy, the one man practice with his hair on fire. Can he get
totally.
going with something affordable?
But it's a great question. So first of all, yes, there definitely is a whole range of products. I think you could say that we kind of took like a Tesla approach where we launched with only this ultra premium product, which the value of that is it enabled us to reach the best practices to drive like incredible ROI for them.
Hmm.
But then, and that gave us the wherewithal to go ahead and say, okay, well, how can we chip away at this? How can we build some lower priced options for practices that aren't quite ready for that? So we do have a whole range, and our products range from you can get a basic website from us for like I think it's like $379 a month,
Oh,
up
okay.
to
Wow.
up to our alpha package, which depending on the exact configuration, you could be spending 1,500, 1,600 a month.
Okay.
And if you add pay per click advertising and things on that, you can be spending a bit more. So we're not the most expensive product in the marketplace. We are the highest performing. And we are towards the top of the price point.
Okay.
But I think the most important thing you said when you mentioned what's the biggest fear, I think the best way I could answer that is to say it's I'm afraid that I'm making another stupid decision. You follow?
Right.
Because
Yeah, totally.
look, veterinarians they're doctors, and you know doctors well, Ed, I know this,
Hmm.
and so doctors. They're I mean veterinarians especially they're wonderful people. They're super caring. They're super dedicated to their profession. But like all doctors, they're used to being in their area of expertise all day long, where they're usually right. And so when they do something like, hey, I'm gonna go try some marketing, they're in an area where they don't really know what they're doing, and they screw up, and they have a bad outcome, and they waste a bunch of money. And they like any of us really, but I think especially people in a profession like a doctor, they hate being wrong. So basically the big fear, Ed, is I don't want to be wrong again. I trusted
Right.
these guys, they screwed up. I trusted those other guys, they screwed up. Like, oh my God, like I can't, if I screw up one more time, I won't be able to take it anymore. So that's the fear. And so that's what we have to work through. I mean, a lot of times our sales process is a bit of counseling. Like, hey, well, tell me more about what went wrong there, like
Yeah,
lay
totally.
down on the
Yeah.
couch and tell me, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I would say too is, and you kind of alluded to it, is the key thing, and we have a lot of systems and tools we use to try to achieve this with a veterinary practice. The key thing is to change their mindset from seeing marketing as a cost center to seeing marketing as a revenue driver. When you look
Absolutely.
at marketing, and here's the thing, everybody that is consulting and educating vets, essentially with very, very few exceptions, they're being taught to say, okay, well, you want to keep your marketing costs below 1%. 1% is what I'm told a lot. Obviously, if you look at the SBA, they'll say 8 to 12% for a small business is good. You and I know like there's different models to this, but it's not. Nobody says spend 1% on marketing, but that's what veterinarians are told relentlessly. Maybe 2%, maybe 3%, but keep it down. Make sure you don't spend too much, right? Rather than saying, the cost, like marketing is an investment in your growth. So the amount you should invest in it should be based on what kind of return you're getting on it. So basically you have to look at it through that frame and saying it's not about trying to minimize your spend. It's about trying to maximize your result. And if you've got a channel that's working, you should be investing as much as you can in it.
Absolutely. You double down on success. Okay, great. So now I'm going to, you guys are on with Harley Orion, GeniusVets.com. Your last call to action. So somebody says, okay, I'm starting to overcome my skepticism. I am a veterinarian. I want to have that level of success. How do they engage with you? Where do they go? And what does that look like, that initial contact?
It's a great question, Ed. So basically, the first thing you can do is you can go to GeniusVets.com and you can claim your profile for your practice. It's completely free. You get it's a
That's
great
free.
benefit. You can promote your practice. It's going to help you with your local search visibility.
Yep.
When you do that, right now you get a free profile enhancement. That's a $247 value that I think we're doing for free right now.
Okay.
And don't quote me. I believe the URL is GeniusVets.com/claim. But
Okay.
I can send you an email, or you can maybe post it up for your audience. But so
Yeah, I'll put
if
the
they
link
go,
in the video when we go back and
perfect.
optimize the video on
Great.
YouTube. I'll add that link.
Okay, perfect. But so yeah, they can claim their profile, and then the second thing they can do is reach out to us and request what we call a veterinary marketing health exam. That's where we'll spend an hour, hour and a half with you if you'd like. We'll talk through all of the different ways that you're spending money right now in your marketing, what kind of results you're getting, how the practice is performing overall, and we'll recommend the best set of services that'll support you in growing the practice, and we'll kind of help you find the package that's going to help you be successful.
Great. Hey, Harley, it's been awesome having you here.
You as well.
I think you guys are just doing a phenomenal job. I mean, your stats are going out the roof. I'm excited that we were able to feature you. I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future. Take this video and share it with your vets.
Definitely will do.
Let them know that you're out there trying to really educate people and build a better community. Okay, guys, this has been Harley Orion with GeniusVets.com. I'm Edwin Dearborn. I am your virtual chief marketing officer here on Growth Driven.
Thanks, Ed.